Hello and welcome into the Birds and Braves podcast. I'm Luke Winstel. Thank you all for tuning in. Today I'm joined by Atlanta Falcons long snapper Josh Harris. Mr. Harris, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Luke. Looking forward to talking some football with you.
You're welcome. How's your off-season going thus far? What have you been up to?
It's been going well so far. Unfortunately I had an injury last year, and so I missed the last few games of the season, and so this off season has been spent mainly rehabbing and getting ready to go for this upcoming year.
Off the field, do you have any hobbies that you pursue in the off season?
Well, I've got 3 kids, and so most of the free time that I have, is spent, doing things with them. But from a hobby standpoint, I love to play golf, and I love to hunt and fish. So if I'm not hanging out with the kiddos and doing things with the family, you can usually find me doing one of those 3 things.
Are you a big golf fan? Are there any players you like to root for?
No, I love golf. Huge golf fan. I'm a big Tiger fan. Have been since I was a kid. And so obviously watching him win the Masters last month was pretty special. But I love golf. I mean, I watch pretty much every tournament and try to keep up with it as best as I can.
So now heading into the OTAs in 2019 that are just starting to get going and training camp, how would you describe the overall vibe around the Atlanta Falcons team?
We're excited. We're excited to get back to work and start putting in the work necessary to reach the goals that we all have for ourselves, each and every year. It's always an exciting time. We've got a lot of new guys coming in, along with the draft picks and the rookies that are all in town now. And so today was the first day of OTAs, and so being able to get out there on the field and practice against one another and go through just the process that it takes just to get ready, and it's a lot of fun.
Would you say that vibe and that excitement, is that any different than what the team felt and what you all felt coming into last season?
No, I think it's it's how we feel every year is just the opportunity that we have in front of us. Last year is gone, and next year isn't promised, and this the opportunity we have right now in front of us is the only one that we have, and everybody just takes that approach and wants to get 1% better each day, and whether that's in the weight room or on the field, just finding something in your craft that you can fine tune and work on and just get better each and every day. It's a slow build all the way up until the season starts, and so we're just excited for the opportunity ahead of us.
So with you as a long snapper, what are you trying to fine tune and hone in with your craft as we get ready for the season?
Yeah, so there's a lot of little things that go into to long snapping that I guess a lot of people don't necessarily understand about it. But for me, one of the things that I've been working on this off season is on the field goal snap. Now with Giorgio being our kicker, he's a left-footed kicker, whereas Matt Bryant was a right-footed kicker. And so when Bosher gets down there to hold on field goals, he's on a different side. And so getting used to visually seeing the holder, on the other side of the hash, or just, kneeling on a different knee, and, trying to find a different, and get used to a new aiming point when it comes to field goals. And just making sure that, my laces are the same way. I know that when I snap the ball, the football is going to rotate 2.5 times from the time it leaves my hands to the time Matt catches it. And my goal is to have those laces at 12 o'clock every time he catches it, so that all he has to do is catch it and put it down. That way it's a clean operation, and we give Giorgio the best opportunity to knock it through the uprights.
Yeah, and you mentioned Matt Bryant. I want to talk about him for a second. What was it like playing with him, both on and off the field, with him being the leader on the special teams unit?
Yeah, Matt is a great friend of mine. Learned just a tremendous amount about the game of football and how you should carry yourself as a professional, both on and off the field. He was very instrumental in my development, and just kind of bringing me along and teaching me the tools of the trade, and how to act and how to respond to adversity, how to accept when you've done well, when you haven't, and just from outside of football. His wife Melissa was very very influential with my wife Cameron, just in kind of teaching her about the day-to-day life of being in the NFL. When I was a rookie and we got to the team in 2012, they kind of took us under their wing, and we were able to learn a lot from them. And we spent a lot of time together and made some great memories, both on and off the field.
What do you think the team will miss most without Bryant on the roster for this coming year?
Well, Matt obviously is an established veteran. I mean, he's been kicking at a very high level for a very long time. But Giorgio is a good kicker in and of itself. And really the only thing that matters is when our number gets called. We go out there and we perform. And we execute and we do our job. That's really all we can do. And as long as we do that, I think we're going to be right where we need to be. And whether that's a extra point in the first quarter or a game-winning kick, in the playoffs. We're just working hard each and every day to make sure that we can go out there and perform. Matt set a really high standard and a high bar for kickers across the league. And so Giorgio is excited about the opportunity that he's got to come in and kick, and we're excited to have him on board. He did a great job for us last year in the games that he filled in. And so we're looking forward to getting to work.
And now with Giorgio Tavvechio likely to take over as the starter, who you've talked about a little bit, what do you like most about his game and what you've seen from him?
Yeah, he one of the things I really like is that he while he may not be as seasoned as Matt, he's been around the block a few times. He's been with a few different teams. He has spent a lot of time in training camps with different teams, and he's kind of, been through the ringer, so to speak, as it, pertains to just how this business works. And, he has stayed positive. He's been nothing but a professional when it comes to work each and every day. He's very particular and very precise in the way he practices, and I love that. I love that he has a plan to go out there and do one thing exactly right, and he practices with a purpose, and I like that about him. And just every time we get to work together, he instills confidence in me, and I'm looking forward to being able to make some more kicks with him moving down the road.
So a major change that happened this offseason was with the coaching staff, with all three coordinators not being brought back. What thoughts were going through your head when you heard the team was not bringing back the coordinators after the 2018 season?
Well, that's just the nature of this business, and there's turnover each and every year. From team to team, it's not uncommon to see that. We haven't had that, in a few years, but like I said, it's part of the business, and that's the unfortunate side of it, because you get to know people, you get to know guys, and they have families as well, and so my first thought was, hopefully, they end up finding another spot quickly, where they can get back to work doing what I know they love to do. Keith Armstrong was our special teams coach, and he was very instrumental in developing me as a long snapper in the NFL, and so I'm very grateful for the time I was able to spend with him these past 7 years, and just being able to learn from him and how to do my job at the professional level. There's a lot of differences between snapping in college, snapping in the NFL, and he really showed me, what it meant to put in a good hard day's work. And I'm forever grateful for the lessons that he taught me. And now he's down in Tampa, so we'll get to see him twice a year. But it's just an unfortunate side of the NFL, and excited about the new guys that we've brought in. Ben Kotwica, our new special teams coach, is a great guy. I've really enjoyed getting to know him and learn his system and his style. And so just really looking forward to getting to work with him this season and win some football games.
And with Coach Ben Kotwica, What have you liked about his style specifically and what you've seen with your first impression playing under him?
Yeah, so Ben comes from a military background, and you can tell that in the way that he coaches. And I come from a military family, so I was used to some of the terminology, some of the things that he likes to use, and just the structure that he has in his meetings, and when we meet one on one or as a special teams unit together, I've just really enjoyed getting to learn about his experiences, what where he's been, what he's seen, and just understanding that now that we're working together, we're both trying to get to know one another, and I think that goes for every situation where a new coach comes in with players. There's that process where you go through just trying to get to know one another, and it's been going great so far. He's an outstanding motivator. He's a great coach, and everybody seems to be catching on. And with his philosophy and with his style, and I'm really excited to see what we can do this year as a special teams unit.
And you mentioned also in your previous answer that there's a big difference between snapping in college and the NFL. What is the biggest part of that difference, and how did you adjust to that?
Yeah, the biggest difference is on punt. So in college, there basically you take advantage of the rules that you have, right? And so in college, on a punt team, when you see the team, they pretty much spread everybody out across the line of scrimmage. They may have 2 or 3 offensive linemen kind of between the snapper and the punter. And the reason they can do that is because in college, everybody can release downfield as soon as the ball is snapped. Now, of course, you have a blocking responsibility, for the most part with the other guys. But for me in college, I just snapped the ball, and as soon as I snapped it, I ran downfield and tried to make the tackle. Now, in the NFL, there are only 2 guys who can release at the snap, and those are your flyers or your gunners that line up outside. And so they can release at the snap, but the rest of the interior and core of your punt team, they cannot pass the line of scrimmage until the ball is punted. And so in that case, now that it's like that, the biggest thing I had to learn how to do was block after I snapped. I was so used to just snapping and immediately sprinting downfield. Now I have to snap and I have to recover and come up and backpedal, and I have a blocking responsibility before I can go downfield. So that was the biggest transition for me that I had to make. And, the way I just did that was really just by repetitions. I mean, I wasn't very good at it at first, and it's still, something that I work on each and every day to try to get better at.
What does your game preparation look like from week to week as a long snapper, and what's your routine on game day?
So we typically practice, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday being a walkthrough / travel day, depending on where we're playing, whether it's going down to the team hotel Saturday afternoon or traveling, out of town to go play an away game. But typically that first day, Wednesday, will be a cover day, so we will work punt and field goal. And kickoff cover, and I try to help out as much as wherever I can. If I need to run down as on a scout team or something like that, I'm always wanting to help out wherever they need me. But primarily, it's focused on, for me as a snapper, it's focused on that week our opponents' schemes, what they like to run on punt return, what type of stunts they run, what type of pressures they like to bring when they're trying to block a kick. And so on Wednesday and then Thursday, it's pretty much the same. We may do a little bit more in the return game, but I'm still trying to just trying to put as much effort into my game as I can. I mean, practicing, making sure that I'm staying on point, and I do a lot of film study throughout the week, trying to pick up on any types of tips or indicators that I can, so that when I'm out there, we can set the protections in the right ways and be ready to go. And typically the way I like, the way we do it is, we compete each and every day. And so our scout team guys do a great job of getting us ready, and just being able to practice against them each and every day makes us that much more prepared when it comes game day. And so for me, on game day, it's a little bit different than most of the guys. I may only get 10 plays out there, but I have to be 100%. And that's how it goes. That's the nature of the business. And if nobody knows who I am, then that means I've done a good job. The only times people know about the long snapper is when something's gone wrong. And I understand that. I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes. Sure, but the idea is to not let one bad outing or one bad snap turn into two. Forget about it, move on. Good, bad, or ugly, no matter what happens, just get to the next snap and make that next one your best one. As far as a routine goes, usually get up, have some breakfast, leave the hotel. I'm just going to use a home game, for example. We will leave the hotel around 9 o'clock, get over to the stadium, and I'll get in the hot tub or stretch and use a foam roller and roll out and just kind of relax for a little bit. I like to listen to music. And then I guess at around 11 o'clock, we go out on the field. We start warming up. I go through a warm-up process with our kickers and our punters. And then right shortly after that, that usually takes about an hour or so. And then we're ready for game time, ready for kickoff, and try to stay loose during the game. When we're on offense, I snap a few balls here and there just to make sure that I'm ready to go if we have to punt or if we have to kick a field goal. And just cheer us on as best I can, and go out there and perform my job and do my job for the team when I'm called upon.
So you talked about your film study. Can you give an example of an indicator that you would look for when you're watching film that you could translate to helping you on the field?
Yeah, so sometimes if you're watching film, just to not go crazy technical on you. So say on the punt return team, they have a certain number player likes to be involved in their stunts that they like to run. And if that stunt is involved in, one of the A gaps that I'm responsible for, my film study throughout the week, will be able to show that, hey, if number, 53 lines up in that left A gap, more times than not, they're going to run, this stunt towards that A gap. And so just little things like that, being able to pick up on, or even things like you can pick up on whether they have their left hand or their right hand on the ground. If you can pick up on things where if they have their left hand down, they like to rush straight ahead, or if they have their right hand down, that typically means that they're going to try to wrap around to the other side. So I look for little things like that and try to get our personal protectors on the same page. He's the guy that's making the protection calls on our punt team. And so whenever I can find things like that, we watch a lot of film together, and so we can all be on the same page come game day.
My next question for you, do you have a favorite special teams play that you've been a part of in your time in Atlanta?
Favorite special teams play? Oh, man, there's been a lot of them, but I would definitely have to say going all the way back to my rookie year when we were playing in the divisional round against the Seahawks at home, and we kicked the game-winning field goal there at the end to go on to the NFC Championship game. That was an incredible moment. The Georgia Dome was electric. It was awesome. It made it even better because we kicked it twice. We lined up to kick it once, and Pete Carroll called a timeout right before I snapped it, and we ended up going through with the kick, with the operation. And it's funny, we missed that one, but then timeout, line back up, do it again, and Bryant drilled it. And that was just an awesome moment, a lot of fun, something I'll never forget.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I was at that game. I loved it.
Oh yeah, I tell you what, that was an exciting game. That was a good one to be at for sure.
Oh yeah, I think that definitely goes down as my favorite game in my lifetime that I've been to. No doubt.
Not surprising.
Well, with that, one play that I remember a lot from last year, kind of a special teams highlight, would be Matt Bosher laying a big hit on Kenjon Barner. So now with those two being on the same team, what is that like? What have you seen there?
Yeah, it's we've had fun with it. Kenjon's a great guy, and we're glad to have him on board with us. He's a great player, a great returner. Looking forward to watching him do his thing with the football in his hand this year for sure. But as soon as he got there, he and Bosh had to share a little some words, a little bit, just a little bit of a light good-hearted smack talk, but. Hey, it is what it is. Kenjon was like, man, that was an awesome hit. He said, I think you told him something that, is something along the lines of, because of Bosher hitting like that, he's never going to take it easy on another kicker. He's always going to lower his shoulder and try to run through every other kicker that he gets to. So I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, that was a great play. I was fired up for Bosh. That was awesome.
Well, when you look at returners and guys on the team like Kenjon Barner, is there anything that you see consistently makes a returner successful, or anything that you really like to see in a return player?
Yeah, I mean, most of the time, all the returners in the league have elite speed. They do. I mean, some people say that, this guy isn't as fast as this guy. Listen, there's a reason each one of those guys is back there returning punts or field goals. One thing that I've seen over the years that makes a returner effective is their ability to get vertical up the field. There's only a handful of guys in the history of the league that have been able to make a living returning kicks by running sideline to sideline. They've got the ability to make one or two guys miss, but then they get the ball upfield and they're able to change field position. I mean, if you think about it and from that standpoint, I mean, if you get 10 yards, I mean, that's a first down. That's one less first down that the offense has to get, and we're 10 yards closer to getting, into scoring position, whether that's field goal range, or putting us, down where, we're only a few plays away from scoring a touchdown. So their returner's ability to get the ball upfield, get it vertical, and just the vision that those guys have, being able to read the blocks, is something that you see a lot of those guys have it, and it's impressive and fun to watch.
Awesome. Mr. Harris, that's all the questions I had for you. Thank you so much for your time and for joining me on the show.
Hey, thank you, Luke. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me on.
You're welcome.